they're not marked by their specificity.
That's right, containers, that's a great term.
Hey,
Yeah, but Scott, I would say there's some reference to it. I mean, without without the container talk, when upon our founding, we set in motion the foundational principles that would allow us to adapt and become the best that we could be. We didn't create a rigidity for our government that wouldn't allow us to adapt, wouldn't allow us to flourish. So, and everything that followed it as the evolution of the country continued, it was foundational, and the trajectory or the arc of it was set in motion at the very foundation. So I would say, that supplies the contents of your container.
Could that therefore become maladaptive as well?
See, I would actually want to argue that those things you're talking about, Steve, might actually be the difference, that actually the constitutional framework and the foundation for liberal society, which you can have right and left wing forms of, right? I mean, that could include Reaganism, it could include FDR. All of those are things that can fit in that container, right?
Yeah, that's a good nuance point. Yeah, the dude's point. Yeah, I mean, anytime you set in motion something that has the ability to be changed and be pliable, there's a chance that it can't hurt. It's like the founders, they talked about the principles that would allow what they laid in place to flourish. And they set out very distinct reasoning and conduct that was required to make it work the way it was intended. But that doesn't mitigate the foundational principles that were set in place. Any system and any government can have mutations and abuses to it. But I think we set in motion the greatest document that liberal democracy has ever seen, in my opinion.
So when you say we set in motion, you mean Jews?
No, our founders, Madison, Jefferson, Washington, all the founding fathers of this country, there's well thought out individuals.
They were concerned about human rights.
So you just asking that question shows that you don't know what is being discussed, and probably that you have ill intentions for asking.
He's referring to we. I'm asking him who is he talking about?
Yeah, well, if you're
We the American people.
Figure that out.
Do American founders of the America, did they believe into human rights?
did they what?
Were they believing to human rights?
Of course they
care
did.
about that?
Inalienable, self-evident, and true.
Yeah, all men are created
Really?
equal. Read the document.
Yeah,
Really?
Really.
Weren't they
what is more foundational human rights that all men...
Human rights are talking about. Human rights is bullshit, which was created after them.
They're not bullshit. They're our values.
That's bullshit.
No,
I think the point I'm trying to make is that when the Constitution was written, yes, the unalienable rights if you are a white landowner, like 110%.
not everybody agreed with that.
The whole point is to say, like, I think I understand what he's saying, because I was just like, wow, this bold statement that Steve made, where he said the United States Constitution, out of all the 182 codified constitutions around the world, because every single country has one, for you to say that America's was the best, like, unless you have lived a lot of your life outside of the United States, like, what is your basis for saying that is the best constructed piece of legal, a legal framework that was formed into a codified constitution? Why is that the best out of the 182 other ones that
Did
exist?
founders of America believe in human rights?
Just for the record, they don't all have it, right? England doesn't have a written constitution. Israel doesn't have a written constitution. Lots of liberal democracies function without a written constitution.
Yeah, that's why I said 182. I Israel or the United Kingdom, they have uncodified constitutions. We understand that. But there are also Australia.
You're reading Hermes way too charitably. He's an anti-Semite troll. He realizes, yes.
No, like, I did not realize that. I was making the overall point.
Is really aloof, really aloof. There are Republicans, there are Democrats. Republicans defend Constitution. Democrats defend human rights. So what that tells me is that human rights are fundamentally anti-constitutional. And when you try to tell me that the founding fathers of the USA were about human rights, that's
Oh, you got it upside down, ignorant,
you people who
backwards.
bring in
The way that,
human rights
hang on a second. The way that we increase human rights is by using the tools of the Constitution. There are brilliant tools that allows for the
weren't created for human rights. That's the point.
You're
You are
ignorant.
using them.
You're ignorant of documents that you have never read. Your first step is to read the documents, and then to read some of the scholarship about the documents. They are there to guarantee human rights. They're in the Bill of Rights. If you don't know, read the Bill of Rights and see what we vigorously defend as our values. And then
Do you have human rights there? So let's talk about
First off, I don't agree with his, I don't agree with his
you
opinion.
practice First Amendment.
So we're.
Hey, Beth! Beth, why don't you learn how to have a conversation, Beth?
It's gonna divulge into you here? Okay, listen, I understand your grade one level talk about human rights. Is this where we've gone? I just want to respond to what Norm said. So, like, you said that the reason our Constitution is like one of the best out there because it allows contributed to divulging this into a terrible conversation. Well, I'm just saying that it was kind of like a pedantic response in terms of saying the great thing.
Beth, stop interrupting! Hermes!
That we can make amendments to it. And again, I say that out of the 182 countries that have codified constitutions, almost all of them make addendums and amendments and add that into their Bill of Rights. So that that's the thing that my whole point is, dude, I don't know why you're picking on me. That we have the best constitution in the world, and then Norm, to supplement it, said it's because we can change it over time.
No, it's because we can use it to expand human rights, either legislatively or with Supreme Court decisions.
So
Like
you
giving
just
women,
using
hang on a second,
for your
wait,
own
don't interrupt, don't interrupt. For example, abolishing slavery was a massive step forward for humanity. We were one of the first places that did that. Many places continued with slavery well into the 20th century.
Was it constitutional?
Wait, of course it
Was
was.
it constitutional?
Of course it was. Of course
Yes,
it
of
was.
course it was.
Yeah, it was actually an amendment to the Constitution. In fact, there were 3 amendments to the Constitution to emancipate enslaved people and to grant them rights. And then it's been a relentless progression or evolution towards compensating the evil that was inflicted by enslavement. And we're
Hermes,
still
what
doing
is the
I have
point?
question.
Hermes, what is the point you're trying to make?
that. Dr. Francis.
Let me make my point, guys. Let me make my point.
Okay,
How
make
are we
one
going
point.
to practice
Well, we've been
First
waiting for
Amendment
10
if
minutes.
there are human
One
rights?
point.
Answer
One
the
point.
question.
1 point. The answer is
How are we
next
going
question.
to practice First Amendment, which is free speech, when there
With
are
the
human
press.
rights?
With the freedom of the press. What's your next question?
Did he make a point?
It is not about
Hello?
just freedom of speech.
I have question for room.
Freedom of religion. Freedom of association.
I have question for room. If you put me in queue after Hermes is done, thank you.
Can you answer that question? How are we
We just
going
answered
to
it.
practice First Amendment if there is free speech? For example, I want to practice free speech and condemn some religion, and that religious guy is going to tell you that I have human rights to practice my religion. So how
Yes.
am
I
I
just
going
told
to
you.
practice my free speech?
I just told you.
What we learn in first grade is that my rights end where your nose begins, so to speak. So what you have to do is remember there are other people, in the world, and you are entitled to practice your free speech, which means that can't be arrested for.
So you're talking of just restricting how many months now because activists.
Well, yes, we are human rights activists, and I'm proud of being a human rights activist. I mean,
Hello?
Or
Hello, I have question for you too. I know Hermes is dominating stage, but I want to ask question too. Dr. Francine, Bernie Sanders has raised almost $1 billion since the year 2000, and his biggest donors are from Big Pharma. So if you believe in human rights and you believe in, human social action, I mean, Dr. Francine, Bernie Sanders is the biggest hypocrite and genocider and bullshitter amongst us. He has killed millions through abortion funding and through vaccine funding and even war funding, Dr. Francine. Bernie Sanders should be arrested and put in jail for war crimes against humanity.
guess what? I'm not defending Bernie. I'm not defending Bernie Sanders.
No, but man, that's the worst improvisation in the last 3 years I've heard from you. This is below your average, like your average skill level. Could completely tell who it is, and the accent was very good.
I'm only speaking like this because Hermes is annoying me, and Hermes won't stop talking, and he won't make no point. So I am now imitating our friend here, Hermes.
By the way, Bernie does not take
And
any
that's
money
what happens
from
without good
My
moderation.
point is, how are you going to not destroy constitutional what's
As a ruler,
like fundamental
or a hammer, or a saw. It is a way of thinking which enables us to control our environment. By observing regularities, and then by making a calculus, which is a process really of betting. Will it be regular next time? And the odds are that it may be. If it's done it once this way, it's likely to do it again that way. So in this way, you predict eclipses of the sun. You predict the phases of the moon. You measured, you counted how it went, how often it did it like this, how often it did it like that. And you say, well, it keeps on doing it. And you think, wow, this is fascinating. It seems to obey me, because now I can tell you any time it's going to come up. And if the other people around haven't figured it out, they think I'm magic, because I'm going to say to them, the moon is going to change at such and such a time. So many days from now, it's going to have a different shape. And I say, my God, he was right. And they'll think I'm making it happen, because I can do that. And so I get a rather privileged position, because I could predict. But that's the basic idea, you see, of the law of nature. The law of nature is a human network, like the lines of celestial latitude and longitude. They don't exist in the heavens, but we project them on the sky in order to measure the positions of the stars. Because the stars are scattered in a very confusing way. And just try and remember that mess and figure it out. But the clever ones, you see, just look at it through a network, a spherical network. You can number all the squares of the spherical network in accordance with the principles of the circle, the 360 degrees. You throw the network on the sky. It isn't really there, see? Then to help you a little further, pick out some of the big stars and see if they make a shape. You know, this is like doing a Rorschach test. And you see, oh, look, there's one over there that looks like a dipper. Or some people call it a plow. And there's one there that looks like a cross. There's one there that, by some extreme wangling, can be made to look like a virgin. And all these lines that join the constellations together are our ways of projecting a pattern upon this great and glorious confusion, so that we can remember it and chart it. But obviously, you could very well see that if you looked at this same pattern of stars from some completely different position in space, all those constellations and their arrangements would vanish. And you'd have to invent a new one. Because there is nowhere where the stars really are. It depends on you.
Wait, what was the point? I missed it. The gold in the shit? What was it?
So I said he may have accidentally stumbled onto something that is worth discussing, and that is, what do we do when those who despise our values and want to destroy them use our values in order to enter the system and then systematically take the system apart? And you see that happening quite a bit, whether it's in Europe, with the influx of people who actually hate liberal society, nevertheless running for office, and then once in office, taking the liberal society apart. Or in the United States, we see it with Montana, who it's really clear despises our.
But El Normo, he's not taking the liberal society apart. He's expanding the liberal society. So if you think expanding it is destroying it, well then, maybe our definitions of destruction versus expansion are different, but it's theft. And the one way to fight it is through lawsuits, and the federal government stepping in and the Department of Justice filing lawsuits. And if they're not filing lawsuits, well, then they need to use the law to make arrests and file charges for theft. And it's that simple. They need willpower to do it.
What theft are
They're stealing from pensions. All this grant money and the money they're borrowing from Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, I'm talking about the mayors of sanctuary cities. This is theft. They're stealing from workers that have paid into pensions, which are completely underfunded, and they are spending hundreds and billions of dollars on tax credits, on grants, on DEI, CRT, BLM, LGBTQ, transgender mutilation. They are stealing from the pensioners and from the retirees to fund their social woke justice program.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah. Hey, Pat, a while ago you was asking me, or you commented that other countries can amend their constitutions. And that's probably true, and I'm not blown in all the nuances of every constitution that you may be referring to. One of the things that's unique, I think, about ours is that it puts into place certain brakes on the system that kind of cools the reflexes of passions of a particular space and time or ideology that may not be beneficial, and force you to look at it a little more carefully before you make the changes. I think that's in that way. For instance, like the amendment process, it's possible to change the U.S. Constitution, but there has to be a concerted agreement in the Congress. There has to be a concerted agreement within the states. There has to be a broad agreement that, yeah, this is the way we want this to go. And I would say it is for that very reason that they put it in, that they didn't want people to fall victim to the passions of their time and do something irrational that would be detrimental to the nation. That's my take on it.
Okay, so the only reason I was disagreeing with what you said about the United States Constitution being the best piece of legislature in modern democratic times is because I've always like posed this challenge to myself: if I couldn't live in America, what country would I all live in? And I have dual citizenship in Europe, but I choose not to live in it just because I don't think that there is a lot of movement between classes. There's not as much upward mobility. Granted, there's minimal downward mobility in European society. Whatever class you're born into, you're going to stay in that, at the very least. But you can't. It's much harder. I think a good balance between America's unbridled capitalism and Europeans' social netting. I like Australia a lot, and I think they have a pretty good constitution. However, if I had the choice to live wherever, like my home country being included, if America was still on the list, I would always choose America over Australia. And the thing that I love about this country the most is states' rights, where the states will put up.
I think you're in the matrix, Pat.
All the time. Is the greatest country in the world, which I'm so happy about this World Cup. With all these Europeans coming over that mocked us and shit on us. They're having a great time. They're seeing like America should be 8 different countries. We should speak 3 or 4 different languages. But it's crazy how we keep it all together, and I think states' rights are the things that does that, not the federal government. So, yeah.
Pat, Scott, he could articulate this better than me because I think he has a much better understanding of it, about the different regions and how they were settled and how they evolved and what we get from them. You know what I'm talking about, Scott. You talked about this the other day. I guess Scott's not there. He had some really good insights into that. about the different people and cultures that settled in different regions and how it gave us regional kind of like flavors to the country.
Hello? I just want to address something about who's more anti-Semitic, the left or the right, if I may.
Go ahead.
So on the right, you have Dan Bilzerian, a hardcore extremist Nazi who on his X account for years now has been posting the most vile anti-Semitic Jew hate and tropes and racist content you could possibly imagine. And he's running against Representative Fine, an Orthodox or conservative Jew who believes in safety and security, and he's an anti-terrorist. But Dan Bilzerian is pro-terrorist. He wears the what is that? The scarf, the black and white checkered one or the red one. He meets with Muslim Brotherhood agents in Qatar or in Abu Dhabi, and he is being embraced by a lot of what you could call America Firsters, who really are unaware of the content that he creates. He is just this America First candidate, sick of funding Israel, sick of supporting the J words. And so if you want to say he is the right wing, which he really is not, though, I mean, in terms of like the Republican Party is in many ways Zionist. And so you have that. Then you go on the far left, and you have the AOCs and the Mamdanis and the Rashida Tlaibs and a dozen other bad actors that are couched in this restorative justice, DEI, CRT, BLM, LGBTQ pluralism, and they are supposedly not anti-Semitic, but they're anti-Zionism and they're anti-Israel funding. And so,
Congressman, can I ask you a question, Congressman?
I'm a mayoral candidate now, my #1 campaign funder. How are you, JB?
Living my best life. You said they're unaware of this person's, I guess, ideologies. Let me ask you, do you honestly think they would even give two fucks, even if they knew? Most MAGA, most Republicans are closeted anti-Semites, in my opinion.
Well, if we went to the LGBTQ parade 2 days ago and we did a survey, you would be shocked at how much anti-Semitism there is on the far left. And all you have to do is have a conversation, and they just slip it into conversation. Oh, that's very Jewish.
Mr. Mayor, I'm in New York City. I'm very well of the far left anti-Semitism.
Well, when I say that they're unaware that Dan Bilzerian has posted a tremendous amount of Jew hate, if it was presented to them, they would say, oh shit, that's pretty racist and pretty fucking mean and radical and cruel and full of hate. They might say that, but they don't see it because it gets buried. And when I have 27,000 posts on one X account. I have 150,000 videos on YouTube. Go ahead and find some disparaging content that I've created. You'll never find it. And plus, I very rarely have ever said anything racist on this app. And so I'm just saying that if Dan Bilzerian, if you were to examine his account, it would shock you to the core. The man is a verified hardcore Nazi. And every chance...
Yeah. Bill Maher posted, talked with a quote from his social media, which says the only real battle in the world today that I see worth fighting is fucking, exterminating Israel. I mean, I would sign up tomorrow and go fucking put boots on the ground and go fucking kill Israelis. Dan Bilzerian, Republican congressional candidate.
Yeah, he should be rebuked by Speaker Johnson.
Let me just finish this, John. Hey, listen, I'm no Trump supporter. Everybody knows my stance on Trump. He's done some good things, done more bad things. But God bless Donald Trump. that he is pro-Israel, pro-Jew? Because if he wasn't, that party would be running rampant with anti-Semitism.
You might be right. You might be wrong. But you voted for Kamala Harris, not our lion in the office defending America and Israel from the far left progressives that are communist socialist thieves. JB, I was speaking earlier about how the liberal neo pluralists are nothing but thieves. They are borrowing and spending against pensions and against the future security of all of our major cities. These are radical communist domestic terrorists, and the Department of Justice, the criminal and fraud investigations need to happen. Mayor Brandon Johnson, Mamdani, should be charged and arrested by the federal government.
Who's leading this? And I'm being facetious here. Who's leading this charge with Mamdani? Who is it? Who are his base? I would say young 20-something-year-olds who have no fucking clue, can't hold a job. They identify as rabbits and dogs and cats and all this other bullshit. And you know what? This guy's gonna be a 2-term, 3-term mayor, and New York's gonna go to fucking hell. Unfortunately, my brother Norm is gonna be here, and I'll be going. By the way, I may have to leave, which is why I modded you, Steve. I hope you don't mind, but don't mod anybody else. Thank you. A couple of interesting thoughts. Number one, I was listening to somebody describe China there were in a country of 500 million, and this is going back to the 30s, there were 30,000 communists, no more. There were more communists in Finland, in Italy, there were more communists in the United States of America than there were in China, and yet China turned communist. And I think the insight here is how few people it takes to overwhelm a political entity and change it dramatically into something horrible like communist China. That's the question. And as you pointed out before, Scott, Mamdani did it with a real scant minority of the votes. 17%, I think you pointed out in the primary. Maybe 10% of New Yorkers in the actual mayoral. He said he got 1 million votes, and we know there's something between 8 and 10 million New Yorkers. So it doesn't take a lot of people to transform society into something nightmarish. It didn't take Nazi Germany. Exactly right.
I mean, it will be interesting, Norm. I think, again, as the commentary guy said, you know, the Democratic Party is often so sort of milquetoasty and flip-floppy. And, well, what do we really stand for? Are we really for universal health care? Are we really for this or for that? And I think, you know, some of these DSA folks, they'll tell you exactly what they're for and what they're against. And I wonder if that clarity will push the party left. And that could be a good thing. Look, I think Bernie Sanders, one of the good things about Bernie Sanders, among many things, is that he got the healthcare discussion going in a more universal direction.
Scott,
Among the Democratic Party, right? He put that on the radar. As far as you have to have a position on this, you have to think about it.
Scott, how can liberal progressives endorse universal health care when healthcare executives make $1 million easy, when it's all about the billing? I mean, Scott, this universal health care claim is a scam and a fraud to enrich healthcare executives and corporations.
I'm not endorsing a particular way to get to universal coverage. I think you can do it lots of different ways, right? Lots of industrialized nations have achieved this goal without private health insurance. Some have used private health insurance. Some treat insurance like a public utility that's heavily regulated. I don't think there's one answer
Scott, we have to get the money out of it. We got to lower it to $2 trillion a year, not $4 trillion. We can't let this ruthless profiteering take place when the country's $40 trillion in debt. It's not a fucking human right to have healthcare and to enrich doctors and healthcare executives. It's a fucking scam, Scott. Call it for what it is.
Scott, you said something.
Call it for what it is.
What's identity? Most people, and you and I both know that most of society is stupid dummies. They follow the crowd. If you tell somebody you're Republican, automatically they assume he's MAGA. Him or she, him or her, even if they're not. You say Republican, oh, they must be MAGA. There's no identity for the Democratic Party. But I'll tell you what's going on. The DSA is slowly taking over that party, and that's going to be the identity. Mark my words.
Yeah, one of the problems is that I think people, when they become passionate about anything, tend not to think it through really well. And they just see what's in front of their face, and they don't think about the consequences. They don't think about the long-term effect of what they're advocating for. It's very reactionary, I think, in a lot of ways. Time I've spent on city councils, I see it with people, and it's almost like an educational program you have to go through with people and explain to them the nuances of what they're talking about. And in that process, a lot of times you can see the light go off in their eyes, like, well, maybe I'm not so sure about what I'm saying. But I think we have that occurring on a national level right now too, and it's very disconcerting.
Steve, it's so good to see you. Sorry, Scott. So good to see you, Steve. But I'm asking a serious question to Steve, Scott, to John. When did we, as a society, Americans specifically, become so oblivious and dumb to what politicians are saying and what they're doing? Trump will say one thing and do something else, and people still love him. Same thing with AOC. She's a fucking ding-a-ling dummy, and no matter what she says, people love her. I'm just curious, when do we as a society make that turn?
Well, I mean, it's team sports stuff too, JB, right? I mean, on one level, it's so what my team does sometimes is, right, you look at how Democrats used to have a higher view of Russia, a more positive view of Russia than Republicans did. Then Trump got associated with Russia. Then they went more negative, and Republicans got a more positive view. You look at the NFL with Cohen, and Neil and Kirkpatrick, whatever. Republicans used to have a more positive view of the NFL. Then with the kneeling, and went to the Democrats, and just people follow team sports to some degree. The war in Iran is I think the real barometer of this, right? I think
for quite a while.
Well, I think a lot of the thinking was that they could inflict enough damage on leadership, and they seen all this uproar in the society that the people in the streets would create enough turmoil inside the country to create a political change.
Yeah, but
Now,
if you eliminate the leadership, I'm pardon me for cutting you off, but if you eliminate the leadership, have you eliminated the ideology?
well, probably not in the sector that you're referring to, but you got to ask yourself how pervasive inside that government, and what percentage of the people in the country subscribe to that ideology. And the people in the country, their currencies values went to crap as their lives become harder and harder, and they don't associate with the ideology. Inevitably, that leads to turmoil, which leads to instability in the leadership, does it not?
Steve, is it moral to flood the country with weapons? Because we gave a ton of weapons to the Kurds, I believe, and they didn't do any kind of incursion or even start a fight. And Trump claims that 60% of the population in Iran is in a military uniform. So people in the streets without guns and hand grenades can't accomplish shit against people with fucking machine guns. So if we're serious about regime change, what was that, Steve? Go ahead.
John, John, I think that was the biggest strategic blunder of the whole endeavor here, is that they should have used the northern part of Iran before they ever started striking Iran to smuggle in weapons to the populace, so that when they start hitting them with these missiles and the Air Force, and there was chaos within leadership, then the people would have had something come out and fight with. That to me was the biggest strategic blunder of the whole thing.
Well, JB was saying we have no exit plan, and I would just say that all war is really just like Chairman Mao said. The tip of the barrel rifle is the extension of your political position and power. So this was a war in the making for many years, and I don't know if you saw what Pete Hegseth said to Elizabeth Warren as she kept accusing him of investing in weapons manufacturers. He was saying that we had to keep all of this a secret from you and from your party and from anyone associated with you, because loose lips sink ships, and this was a surprise event. And at 2:30 in the morning, when the president comes on TV, that almost like scared me in the sense that, oh my God, this is all hasty, like this is unprepared. This is not prepared for. I don't care if it's deliberated, but I want to make sure before they plunge us into a global war that we are prepared to deal with it effectively and efficiently. And I mean, so far, in my opinion, I'm satisfied with the work that the military has done in Venezuela, in Iran, and elsewhere, because it's not the bullshit LGBTQ, trans rainbow military anymore. And we have a real warrior in the White House and a real warrior at the Pentagon who aren't going to play these fucking long game linguistic spam games with the linguistic spammers in our lives. So, anyways, that's all I'm saying.
John, we still don't have a strategy for Iran. I think the only way we win in Iran is if we send in troops, unfortunately, which I can see Trump doing, even though he said he never would. And like Steve said, I agree with that point that he overplayed the hand thinking that Iranian people were going to rise up. He sent armaments to the Kurds who said, fuck you, we're keeping it, we'll sell it, we'll keep the money. So there was no strategy, there's no exit strategy, and this is going to drag on for quite a while. And unless he sends in troops, which I could actually see him doing.
I don't think he'll send in troops. And listen, the strategy is no strategy. And the fact is, this was a can of worms that had to be opened. And thank God Trump pulled the trigger. And if it was Kamala Harris, we all know she wouldn't have done shit. She would have just kept with the Obama deal. While the Obama Tower of Lies and Propaganda is erected in Hyde Park, Chicago, where he stole $300 million in taxpayer funds from the citizens of Chicago to build his fucking landscaping. His landscaping was $300 million with the roads and the trees and the shrubbery. He stole that money from the pensioners of Chicago. Look it up. $300 million we gave that fucking rat for his fucking landscaping. He's a thief. He should be arrested and charged with sabotage, charged with espionage. He's a fucking CIA stooge. There's things you can't even say about him because it's considered abuse, harassment, and he should be arrested. He's a war criminal. He's a vaccine criminal, and he's one of the worst Americans this country has ever created because he's artificial. He's a CIA agent, and his husband is a CIA agent. And John Brennan right now is suing the federal government to protect his secrets because he also is an espionage saboteur. We've got real traitors in the government, real traitors that need to be arrested and tried with war crimes and not assassinated, executed publicly. Public executions in the same way they do it in every other country in the world, except here where we house mass murderers at $200,000 a year in the federal prisons. Mass murderers of the worst crimes imaginable. Execute, execute, execute. That's the mantra. That's my 2027 buzzword for the city of Chicago. Execute, 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 execute.
Well, you know, one thing with the war in Iran that just astounds me, and I understand it from a political point of view. You're trying to make political points, but any military endeavor you engage in is going to have, and you know, with Iran, obviously one of the potential costs was going to be a disruption of the wall through the Strait of Hormuz. So that was a given going in, and you know, if gas, like if it goes up $1 a gallon, yeah, that's a cost to doing this. But the basic fundamental question that before you get to that point, I don't think a lot of people ask themselves is this endeavor worth the cost? And if you say it is, then you got to live with it and you got to see it through. But we want to just be so flippant back and forth about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and please don't disrupt my life in any way. Well, sometimes things do. Sometimes hard things are.
Steve, but let me ask you, up to this point, what do you think the cost has been?
I'm sorry, JB, could you repeat that?
I apologize. Up to this point, in your opinion, what do you think the cost has been? What does it cost Americans up to this point?
Well, obviously, you got the upfront cost of the missiles. You got the cost of having the fleet there and all the associated logistics that go with that. And then you have the cost of the disruption of fuel. So you got the overhead of the military and the weapons that was used there that obviously is going to have to be replaced. And some, Tomahawk missiles, they're not cheap. And then, like I say, this disruption of the oil flow created higher gas prices, and by extension, you get inflation off that. So there's the two big items I see, JP.
I just want to say one more thing about Obama and his Tower of Lies and Propaganda. George Bush was there at the Obama building inauguration. He took a photo with Michelle Obama where they held up a can of Altoids, the mint candy, and they're giggling and laughing. And why is it that George Bush, a Republican who many people think is a war criminal, is giggling and smiling with Michelle with the Altoids? Because they create these viral little candy moments where she gives him candy and he giggles, and then the media spreads the image of them getting along. And so if there is this supposed opposition between Republicans and Democrats and it's not a uniparty, that's all you need to know about who Michelle and Barack are. They are George Bush's experiment. It's 100% a fact that Obama it was picked and chosen and cultivated in an inorganic, inauthentic way. And that's why I say he's a war criminal and he's a vaccine criminal. He promoted the COVID-19 Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, Zav with every major celebrity. With Fauci, he wore the mask. He created countless videos telling everyone that we have to stop the spread, that it will shut down everything forever. We will all perish, and you'll never see your grandma on Thanksgiving. So that type of fear-mongering, lies, and propaganda that he created with Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Fauci, Dr. Birx, Bourla, and 100 other COVID-19 big pharma scammers, they all need to be arrested. The Department of Justice, criminal fraud investigations, we don't need the investigations. We already know that it's a fraud and a scam. And people are still saying, we need to investigate Rand Paul. Not Rand Paul, Dr. Fauci. We already know what Dr. Fauci has done. Arrest the man, send the marshals, send the Secret Service, send the local police, wherever he's at. Arrest the man and bring him in.
Send the marshal away.
He's got the cheetah jacket and he's stealthy. But sometimes, anyways, the question...
That was funny. Tim Marshall. I had to come out and laugh.
That was a good one.
Hi, Steve. How are you? Hello, everybody else. Even you, JB. Good morning.
Fuck you.
Damn!
He's a hater. Who cares?
Yeah, Joe B, he's my #1 donor, though, so when he's saying F you...
You're a habitual liar who fucking you can never tell the truth. You're one of the reasons that this fucking app has died. People like you.
Projection says what?
Alright, I'll go down. I don't need to sit up here next to you. Makes me kind of want to puke.
You heard that.
I'm not going down, but I could.
Projection says what?
JB. Puke.
Yeah, well...
It's ad hominem projection, JB.
Let's try and be decent to each other.
Steve, he's a rip-off artist. I can prove it.
Well,
Prove it.
ad hominem projection works both ways. Let's just refrain from any accusations or ad hominem for at least 10 minutes. We don't need to make it the JBJO show when we can make it the Marshall Stinkin' Rankin show.
Thank you. I do agree.
No, don't insult Marshall, and let's not insult people in here either, and let's not make accusations. I know JB, he's a good guy.
Hey, John, what's your deal with Marshall? I seen you had a room the other day about that. I'm just curious.
Well, he just repeats 3 things on this app every day. One is that Trump is a bully, a tyrant, and retarded and stupid. And then he says Stephen Miller is a wizard, warlord, evil, sick demon. And this guy is supposedly a Republican door knocker. And then he goes on to talking about ballot harvesting at locations where there's 15 ballots and people don't live there anymore. And he's working for this communist female, fake Republican. It's politics, Steve. If he wants to play the political game, create his political content on here in the Gary Bumgarden show every day, well, I'll be political too, and I'll just counteract his fucking lies and propaganda. He's a know-it-all, and I'll admit, the guy does know a lot. But anybody who wears a cheetah jacket from the thrift store and doesn't get it dry cleaned and has got smudges on his glasses, well, son, we got to get you to the gym and you got to start reading books again.
What's up, Rabbi?
How's it going? What's happening? What do you mean a center? Who are we gonna get to be our backup center?
I have no idea, bro. But, man, what an incredible month.
Incredible. Unbelievable. I mean, I was so happy. I'm still happy.
Bro, I watch every video that pops up on my algorithm about them. Everyone.
You guys talking about the next?
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Although I think the Sixers are going to be fucking amazing this year.
Nah, they'll be flopping around.
I think there's a chance they get LeBron. Small one.
I think LeBron's going back to the South Beach.
Really? Yeah.
He'll play with Giannis.
He hasn't worked hard.
Why would he
Even
be
the
tired?
Lakers.
Why would he be tired? He's going to make probably another $75 million over the next couple of years.
That's right.
Marshall Rankin, we were just talking about you. Come on to the stage.
Welcome, Marshall.
All right, Scott. I have a read on the question of the room. Oh, yours on the phone. Scott, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what I think.
Who was talking about me and why?
Joe B was saying you had a small pecker.
So I think.
Hold on. So I got texted about this. Why are you talking shit? Jimmy, you can hear me.
They're looking for fresh meat, Marshall. Go ahead.
No,
He's busy, Marshall, doing chemotherapy.
Okay, well, I'll be back in a little bit. If you want to talk shit, just talk it to my face. Don't talk it behind my back.
Exactly, Marshall.
I'll be back in just a minute. Thanks.
Now that Marshall's gone, I could say some more shit about Stankin Rankin. He also believes in open borders. Marshall he can't even actually determine what a border is. The guy is a Democrat plant. We all know it, and he's got sugar in his tank. Scott, can you confirm that your gaydar goes up sometimes when you hear Marshall, like, really let it out?
That's low blood.
So many Christians are into open. So many of the Catholics are into open borders. I don't know why we're picking on this one particular Christian.
Well, Marshall Stankin Rankin has made it a career here. He's on here as much as John Kitover, and no one can possibly be here on this app as much as me without having a job. Hello?
You know, do something about this. He follows me from room to room and does this. It's annoying as shit. I think he has rooms about you. Room titles.
Yeah. It's called the Marshall Stankin Rankin Show. Listen to Marshall crash out. Hello?
Come on. Okay, John, come on.
All right.
Have a dialogue. He doesn't want to have a dialogue, and I don't want to talk to him. I just want him gone. He does this shit all the time.
I want him gone, so get rid of him. Marshall said, get rid of him, so you gotta do what I say.
Get rid of him to talk to you. You're annoying as shit.
Projection says what?
Here, if y'all get rid of him, please.
Projection says what?
How you doing today, Marshall?
Oh, I'm doing well. How about you, Steve?
Still recovering. I got to go back to the hospital. I don't know if I maybe got blood clots forming. I'm going to have to go get an ultrasound today.
Well, I'll be praying for you, Steve. I hope you feel better.
Clots in your legs, prop them up. Are you working on that?
Yeah, I had a gallbladder surgery, and then a few days after the surgery, just out of the blue, my one leg is, my right leg started having all kind of problems with it. I thought, well, maybe I just pulled a muscle or something, but then it just become more and more persistent, and I started doing some research on it, and it said the nature of the surgery that sometimes it can, something about deep vein thrombosis.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
take a long plane ride.
Yeah, and so after looking into that and the persistent pain at a very high level, I think I'm going to go in and try ultrasound's the best diagnosis.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go in and get an ultrasound of it and make sure, because if the blood clot breaks free, it goes to your lungs.
Or your heart.
So there was that. We're just having fun. Like the old saying, you just get on the bus and you ride it until it stops.
word I. I've been very interested in this problem for a long, long time.
Has Speaker Johnson or Stephen Miller reached out to your congressional boss, Marshall? Because you were saying some pretty nasty things about Stephen Miller that I'm sure the administration doesn't appreciate.
And I've come to the conclusion that what most civilized people mean by that word is a hallucination. That is to say, a false sense of personal identity that is at complete variance with the facts of nature. And as a result of having a false sense of identity, we act in a way that is inappropriate to our
cards. Somebody sent me a greeting card. I'm just looking at the link that is in the chat. Although maybe they're pictures. They look like greeting cards.
Hello? Well,
So what's the consensus? Is it the left or the right?
well, Moose, do you think Israel is a Zionist genocidal country? You tell us.
I'm not talking.
Oh, that's pretty definitive.
Hello? Oh, the liberal progressive.
Yeah, last year in teaching, I took a form like that, and I said, anyone who can, 5th grade class, anyone who can dial their house, or their parent, I think I used, will get a free homework pass. No one was able to figure out how to use the phone.
Wow. Well, that's kind of the problem.
I'm gonna go down because I have JB blocked for life, and I don't want to kill the convo. Y'all have a great day. I'll be back if each stays gone.
I don't think he's here. Bye, Joe.
I was gonna say Moose has so much brain rot. I'd be willing to bet that he probably actually wouldn't be able to use a rotary phone successfully.
Hey, Caleb, did you look at the,
I did. Oh, sure did.
How do you know what he's gonna say?
Yes, he does.
I watched it. Almost watched it.
Every fourth religion is so fucking obvious. They are written by human hand. Do you know what that means?
So what do I do with this? Just
Hey,
put it in the mail?
hey, somebody meet Scott. He's gonna say like some private information. It doesn't matter.
And then I'll bring it in.
Meet Scott. Meet
Is
Scott.
there a pen around here? I have a pen in here. I'll just fill it out over there. Can I drop it in the mail here somewhere?
There's a whole lot. Hey, Marshall, can you meet Scott? There you go. Gosh, there's no gosh. Can you hear me? Yeah, what do you want? Because I want to say like a couple of sentences or something like that. Okay, just a couple of sentences, go ahead. Yeah, just, it's so fucking obvious. It's, for book is written by human hand. It's so fucking obvious. So how can you believe that kind of shit? I don't even understand because it's nothing matter. It's just it's kind of
Get a haircut.
Bible or a Quran or
The intellectual. Get a
whatever.
haircut.
You know, it's so fucking obvious. It's written by human hand. How can't you see? Are you
Well,
stupid?
didn't you just tell us that like you're planning to give birth to a baby Jesus in the future, but also you're virgin?
That's the most like unbelievable thing.
Yes, that is very
it's
unbelievable.
okay for it. Yes, so
Well,
fucking
well then just
unbelievable.
apply
How
the
can you
words.
believe
Just
that?
apply the words that you just spoke. It's unbelievable, right? So apply that to anyone who believes in any religion. Apply what you just said to any religion.
Yeah, that's why
Why
I'm
not?
saying any religion is so fucking stupid. Do you know what I mean? Because they are, all of them, they are so fucking stupid.
Why? How?
You
Why?
may
It's
consider
so
them,
fucking
you may
obvious,
consider
just
them
like-
dumb, but humans have
trying
needed
to
religion
say,
for their entire time on the planet.
If I'm a virgin, I had no sex, and I'm giving a birth of Son of God.
That's so fucking stupid.
Are you okay with that?
Didn't you just?
Am I okay
Didn't you say that?
Are you okay with that?
I don't think
You don't believe God can create miracles?
Because you're okay with that.
Now, let me ask you
It's
a
fucking
question.
stupid.
Now,
John
let me ask you
Kitover
a
running for
serious
February
question.
23rd, 2027 Chicago mayoral election. I need your light, your comment, and your
Does
share.
it exist?
We're here
I'm farting.
in the Buttercup Canary Mission. We're talking
If
to
it's a serious
Jews
question,
in Israel,
if
in
there
America.
is
We're
knowledge
concerned
your
about
comprehension
security.
or the ability to
A lot of
understand it,
conversations
does
about
it exist?
anti-Zionism and genocide.
You claim like
Important topics, but that
That's a
does not
simple
address
question.
Chicago's $100
What I'm
billion
questioning is, do
debt
you believe
and Illinois' $200 billion
that
debt doesn't.
someone in the
For the
17th
$100
century
million of Chicago Police
had
Department pension
knowledge they
payments
had to
monthly.
work with then?
oh,
If they didn't understand how a computer works or how this app works that we're currently on, would that preclude someone creating this? And you're making the same assumptions because I can't touch, I can't feel, I don't have the baseline understanding to comprehend. It cannot be. Is it not? Is that not what you're doing?
Someone in that century, by the way, English is not my first language. If we were talking about Turkish, I would be speaking in like 9 seconds or something like that. I'm sorry about my English, but just it's so fucking obvious. It's written. I'm not just only talking about the Quran or something like that. There is so many stupid people in America, like they still believe like we don't use electricity or something like that. They are
Isn't a belief. It's a
Well,
way of living.
let me ask you this. At the point of being redundant, again,
Do you believe that all knowledge and understanding of everything in existence resides within you? That's a yes or no. Are you all knowing of everything that could be? You say? Well, that has to be presupposition on your articulation. But if I can't possess it, I can't understand it. Therefore, it cannot be.
Russia. In this universe, everything is randomly regulated. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry about my poor English, but just everything is randomly regular. Do you know what I mean?
Based on what?
Based on what? Based on people, based on Earth, something like that. Because I can.
Are you an astronomer? Are you a chemist? Are you an astronomer or a chemist?
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, here we go.
This is not that's not a great conversation.
Like a triangle, nothing, and I believe that kind of triangle is or something like that. And I can ask like to prove it. It doesn't. It doesn't have something like that. It's so fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't think this is room for the particular conversation you're having right now. About the truth of the Bible, about all that stuff. I don't think that's the kind of room this is.
I mean, there are a couple songs early in there. What kind of
I would agree, Daria. If you want to participate in the conversation, please do. I believe that. No, it has nothing to do. No. It has nothing to do with scope.
You have the best theory or something like that.
Alright, well, that's the way you
That guy was crazy Kitover.
I mean, like, we're clearly the best in soccer globally right now, so.
My question again is there a consensus to the title of the room?
We've had people on both sides. I think lean left than right.
I've said that it's the horseshoe effect, right? I mean, it seems that we're meeting, the right and the left seem to be meeting the bottom of the horseshoe here on some level. Like I was saying before, there are times when Tucker Carlson sounds like some kind of woke person from Portland, and then there are times where the people from San Francisco and Portland sound like some right-wing white nationalist sort of, Klan members. It's very unusual. It's very strange. We're in a strange time.
Thank you. Acknowledgement is appreciated.
The Chicago mayoral candidate John Kitover running on the February 23rd, 2027 Chicago mayoral election. I need your like, your comment, and your share. We're here in the Buttercup Canary Mission. We're talking with Jews in Israel, in America, who are concerned about security. A lot of conversations about anti-Zionism and genocide. Important topics, but that doesn't address Chicago's $100 billion.
On my way to Interfaith lunch.
And Illinois' $200 billion.
Excellent.
Which hospital are
The Union Islamic Center of something. Yes, it is.
Patterson, you're on the way to Patterson?
Elizabeth.
Close enough.
I think this is mostly. It's mostly an India subcontinent mosque than it is Arab. I think.
Interfaith used to be Jews and Christians getting together in a church. Now it's
bunch of Christians there today for sure. The guy.
Yeah, but the majority of people will not be Christians.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, please let me know.
What's your religious belief that leads you to something like this?
That leads me to interfaith gatherings.
Yeah, correct. I mean, what do you drive out of it?
What I'm not understanding the question. What do I get out of it?
Yeah, in a nutshell. I mean, what do you get out of it?
I mean, I think being a good neighbor is a good thing. I think knowing the people in your neighborhood is a good thing. I think when I look at the problems facing the world, a lot of it is about alienation from each other. So I hope in some small way, in some small local way, I'm contributing to some bigger effort of knowing each other better. When we know each other better, we'll disagree better. Maybe we'll kill each other less.
I hosted
better understanding. A better understanding.
I hosted one of the interfaith gatherings in Bucks County, like in our little Langhorne area. And man, I was determined not to have a shitty hosting job like the Methodists, who just had shitty cold cuts. So I went all out. These clergy people have never eaten so good as what I hosted. I wanted it remembered. Because, I remembered. I'm like, those shitty Methodists, this was shit. So I was like, I don't want them to walk away and think that about me. So I went all out.
That's right, because you learned what your golf coach told you, right? That you might be the only Christians these people have met.
Exactly, right. You remember that, right? Exactly. I was like, I might be the only, exactly. I might be the only
Methodist.
Yeah, I fucking them. I'm going to really blow them away.
Well, these gatherings are potluck to try to accommodate allergies and different food.
Just no bacon. No bacon.
Yeah, people are not bringing. The request is for people to bring dairy or vegetarian, and label. Let us know if it's gluten-free, etc. That seems to be working.
Norm, did you go to such an event?
I don't know if he knows the thing yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, why could you not bring bacon?
Because it's haram or not allowable for the Muslims, and the Jews can't eat similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't bring bacon into a mosque. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that seems like the only side you're respecting is one side.
No, the no bacon is for more than one.
Yeah, it's 2 out of 3.
Participating. Yeah. Think about it like this. Think about it the same way as gluten-free or food allergies or things like that, right? Like.
discriminatory in the sense of like if my sister, as an example, told me that she was dating a Muslim guy, I probably wouldn't be the happiest with it, and I would, depending on how devout he was, right? So if he was just kind of like a guy that went to the mosque once every 2 weeks and believed in Allah but didn't really know very much about the Quran and just self-identified as a Muslim, that'd be one thing. I'd go, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I still think it's silly, but I don't care. But if he actually believed in the tenets of Islam and concerned of him influencing my sister or something like that, then yeah, I'd be very unhappy with the fact that she was with
Yeah, I think that makes good sense. But I completely agree with that. That's very balanced. But that's different than saying I'm automatically going to hate him because he's a Muslim.
I wouldn't automatically hate, but I think I would be. I'd want to ask some questions, right? I'd want to understand their ideology. Yeah.
What would you do if your sister said, we had the strangest conversation. I've been on, this is my 3rd date with this Muslim guy. He's a parent. And he said, I don't know what's wrong. I feel like a failure as a parent. Why? And he said, well, my kid is 3 years old and he doesn't hate Jews yet. And I just don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Sorry, say that one more time. He said,
she said, I want to tell you about this guy I'm dating. And we've been on a 3rd date. He's a Muslim. And we had this weird conversation. He said, I think I'm a failure as a parent. And I said, why? And he said, well, old and they don't hate Jews yet. What would you say?
I mean, I think he's a psychopath. I mean, that's a bizarre thing to impose some kind of hateful ideology on a child.
That was a legit. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, I see.
See, the problem with Alan's position,
Don't you think that when it comes to religion and it comes to politics, heuristics are dangerous?
all language is dangerous.
We have to generalize to make sense of anything, right? Because otherwise we could categorize things and we'd have to take everything as a discrete particular. But yeah, we have to check our priors, right? I mean, I think there are exceptions and standouts and peculiarities all over the place, right? So nobody fits the generalization in general, right? Nobody perfectly fits any stereotype. And some people are characteristically different than that stereotype, right?
Alan, if I may interrupt you, your problem is you don't make any moral pronouncements or judgments. And you say, oh, you should just vote for a Democrat because he's a Democrat. I mean, where is your moral judgment, Alan? Do you believe in the separation of economics and state? Should the state be the sole source generator of all economic activity in the way that it is now?
Absolutely not. So, yeah, are we going to have a serious conversation, or is this just fun?
Not with this guy. This guy's
a serious conversation. If you know me, you know I'm a firm believer in capitalism. I think socialism is a too broadly used category. I think that there are parts of socialism that are part of our culture that we shouldn't reject, and I think we, as from a political standpoint, need to separate what responsibility society has to individuals from what responsibility individuals have for each other. And I think specifically with respect to Republicans, they used to believe in personal responsibility. I'm not going to vote for a single Republican who doesn't prove that they think for themselves. Heuristics are dangerous. Was that responsible?
I will say one thing I do find uniquely upsetting about Jews in comparison to other religions, though, is I am wholly against the modification of children's bodies absent their consent, especially like functional parts of their bodies. And Islam, Christianity, saying all these other ones, they don't do that.
Yes, Islam is the same procedures.
With circumcision?
Yep.
I wasn't aware of that. Well, then I would levy the same criticism at Islam then, but I do find that to be an abhorrent practice.
Yeah, does Islam even do that to females as well? Don't they do to?
Yeah, it's not prescribed per se, but there are certain places in East and West Africa where it is practiced, but it's a very minority position.
I'm a firm believer that if someone wants to have that done to their child, they should, have to be the legal age of consent, right? You should be 18 years old, and if you want to go and get the procedure done, you can do it, but it should absolutely be illegal to be done to children, in my opinion.
So you think that the state should be superior to the parents in terms of deciding for their children?
Right. We would need to modify the First Amendment.
Absolutely. I think that we do that all the time with abuse and so forth in terms of the state having the ability to take children away from abusive environments. I would categorize unnecessary body modification on a child as something that I would consider to be abuse. Yes, I think the state should regulate something like that, absolutely.
So
that would be struck down immediately by the Supreme Court.
Circumcision, which is in the Bible, which is much older than our nation. You're going to say that circumcision is child abuse.
Yes.
It's an unnecessary procedure. That's all Roland's saying. And so I'm agreeing with Roland. I think it would be a good thing to do where the state would get involved to stop these unnecessary medical procedures because they don't need to be done. I'm being redundant by saying that twice. So yeah.
There are health benefits.
That's been shot down.
No, it has not.
Yes, it has.
Please put the link in the chat.
Okay, I'm enjoying some chill out time, watching silly videos on YouTube and drinking a cup of coffee. I'm not gonna. Okay. I can research it all, but it has been discussed that it's not necessary for the health benefits and cleanliness benefits. Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
The foreskin can trap bacteria.
If you do not clean it, you have a higher potential of.
Well, that's hygiene is precedent, right? If you don't, hey Yakov, if you don't clean your ass.
If I can just add this in really quick, because this has been something that's not even up for debate, right? There's like a wealth of information you can find on this. You can look at the stats. The benefit you derive from being circumcised in terms of cleanliness, reduction of UTIs, reduction of STIs, AIDS, yada yada yada, is such a marginally small percentage as to be negligible, right? It's not in any way which should be taken into account due to the very, very small percentage benefit that it gives, right? While simultaneously removing something that has a very specific function, and then not having that piece of your body also limits your potential pleasure from sexual interaction, and also can result in scarring of the glands of the penis and dysfunction in general, as well as scarring that could make it hard to have an erection because the scarring can cause all kinds of tension and issues with that. So again, I have no problem with people getting circumcisions. I think people should be able to modify their body as much as they want to any extent that they want. As long as they're in the right state of mind, that we can speak to each other competent to make decisions. But children, I think, should absolutely not have that done. My parents did that to me when I was a child. Before I had the ability to consent, it's something that I'm very upset about that they did. I think that it was a gross overstep of their decision making for me that I would not have done had I had that decision. And I think that children should also have the ability to make that decision later rather than have that taken away from them. So, I just think that bodily autonomy is something that should be respected.
On the dating apps,
Hang on, I got cut off because
lots of women on the dating apps say circumcised only. I've never seen a woman. Never seen a woman that says I'm cut only ever.
Yeah, who cares, Scotty? It's funny. So Yakov.
I'm just saying. Okay, that's the thing.
I got it. So Yakov, you brought up cleanliness, right? If you don't have good hygiene, if you don't clean your ass, you're going to develop a rash and sore in your area.
I understand that camera argument. I understand that. Right now we have freedom of religion. If that's a religious practice dating back thousands of years, the United States, given its current constitutional structure, you cannot ban it. Okay, you want to change the First Amendment? Sure, go right ahead.
Right. I think maybe an amending of the First Amendment should be a good thing.
That's silly though to say that you can't ban it. If we had a religious practice that involved the removal of women's clitorises, right? The state would be like, we're going to keep allowing this because it's religious, or like a religious practice that said that all women have to get mastectomies as children, right?
So let's talk about that.
Don't allow that.
Do U.S. doctors allow that procedure, removal of clitoris?
You cannot. No.
I know. That's what I'm asking Yakov. I understand that. I'm asking Yakov.
I don't know of any religion that says that needs to be done, and that happens on a regular basis.
There are lots of religions like that, and especially like some various different African religions have that practice, right? So yes, there are religions that do mandate the removal of the clitoris.
Yeah, so if they lived here in the U.S. and they wanted to practice their religion, the U.S. would grant them their practice. Are you saying that?
I can't speak to that. I am not aware of a religion in the United States.
This goes along with the freedom of religion, the freedom of practice.
Well, beyond the legalities is not really what I'm concerned about. Like, the law is stupid in a lot of aspects. I don't really care about, like, what the law mandates or doesn't mandate. Yakov, do you think that it's morally acceptable to do something like that to a child? Like, do you think the child shouldn't have access to make that decision on their own when they come of age? And if so, why not?
Parents are guardians of their children till 18. If they follow a specific religion, and that is a custom of their religion, that does not cause, it's. I have no problem with it. I did it to my son. My parents did it to me. I understand why it was done. I know why it was done. My son is about to have a baby in August. He's arranging for a mohel to come. It's just something that we've done for thousands of years.
But that's not really a justification for why, though, right? Because
why is it is the covenant that we have with God.
But I'm sure there's a line there, right? Like, you wouldn't say that, like, someone from another religion that said their covenant involved removing the clitorises of women, would you say that, like, that's acceptable because that's what they believe? Or is there a line there somewhere?
Why did she kick? Why did she kick? Because we have anonymous.
Extrapolate, right? So I understand that you don't have a large-scale knowledge of that. I'm telling you it occurs. I think we're just doing a hypothetical here, right? Would you agree that if there was someone that, let's say, had a religion that mandated that, would you?
Well, I can't ban one thing and say, give me mine. Like, that's a morally ambiguous.
I understand. So you're saying you would make an allowance for that. You'd say it's acceptable to continue doing that because that's the religious practice, even if the children aren't protected.
This is.
Honestly, I ever heard a response to Yakov, like you're trying to coordinately put him in a position to have to answer when he's thoroughly saying he's not a qualified expert, but on a personal basis he can respond, but you are trying to lead him into an outcome.
But Jason, you don't have to be a qualified expert to answer a hypothetical, right? Like, I'm not.
To be honest, I just don't like hypotheticals. They're just.
In the nature
but you don't think that, like, hypotheticals have the ability to, like, expose
sometimes discussing a hypothetical may not be adequate. No, you're trying to run the conversation, Roland. Are you actually? You're rich, right? Your parents are attorneys. How much did you learn of their?
No, it's not rich. It's not rich.
It's not?
No,
are you
Thomas isn't rich. It doesn't matter who it is.
Anyways, Roland, are you an attorney? Do you practice law at all? I'm going to ask this.
I don't care who he is or what he is. I mean, it's an interesting question, but it's
Yakov.
It's a good question because it follows along with the religious practice and the freedom of practicing religion in the states. It's hypothetical, and it's only an honest thing to answer the hypothetical. I'm with answering.
I answered it. I said I would have to refer because then look. You have to. You can't have one thing for one group and one thing for a different group. That doesn't work. That would be struck down by the Supreme Court. So, under
it's not
equal protection. I know. I said it's not. What? To ban it? Yes, we said that before you came into the room. You'd have to amend the First Amendment.
But that's not freedom of speech.
No, it's not freedom. It's the religious freedom clause. It's not, it has nothing to do with speech or anything. It's the
freedom of religion and from
freedom of religion,
practice of religion, yeah.
Correct. That clause, it would directly violate. You can't have one rule for one group and one rule for another group. So in this hypothetical, you by default have to say yes to any group that does anything to protect, let's say, circumcision, because you can't have a separate movement.
I agree, but I agree that that's the case, but I would argue that unless you're insane, there's got to be a line there somewhere, right? Because there was a religion that was removing children's feet, right, and fitting them with prosthetics, and they didn't have human feet anymore, right? They couldn't walk normally, and they suffered as a result of it, or something like that. Or I can extend it as far as I want, right? I'm sure. Wait, one second, Scott. If I can just finish. Scott, if I can just finish my sentence.
Scott's room, you're gonna have to like.
Yeah, this is a simple. I mean, I'm not the sentence though, right? All I'm saying is that there definitely is a line there.
Simple intellectual question. Sure, there's a line, and we've decided culturally that circumcision falls on the safe side of it. Done. There you go.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is I'm questioning whether or not that line is in fact correct morally, right? Obviously, I'm not asking whether or not society is.
Look, we are not Belgium.
I'm not saying why that would be like in any way, guys. Every time I'm talking, you interrupted. Relax. All I'm saying, like that as a criticism to what I brought up, Scott, is just really silly, right? I know that that's where the line currently is. I'm pushing back against it. Just then, like Pipe saying. Roland, the line is there and we've decided. It in no way addresses whether or not, my criticism of the line is or is not consistent or and I think it does.
Could I add something to what you're saying as far as the line is? When you go, because I just went and looked this up, the chance of medical complications from circumcision range from 0.2 to 0.4%. 0.2. 0.4%. So you're not talking about a medical procedure that inevitably has disastrous outcomes. In fact, it's very, very rare. So I think you're overblowing the implications of a circumcision. I think you're not seeing the outcomes and outcome, and that's something a physician does all the time, whether he's going to decide to do something. Risk benefit.
I heard his objection. His objection was more to you're making a decision for the child. The child should do it when they become of age at 18 and they can decide. That's what I heard. Was the thrust of his argument.
Practically, you have a better moral chance of winning the argument to ban meeting in this country than you would circumcision. It's just a silly argument. I mean, it's not in the foreseeable future. Long foreseeable future, this is just not going to be anything.
That's not what I'm saying, Scott. I'm not saying whether that would happen. I'm just saying I will with this, right? I'm not taking
Wait, hold on a second. You're bringing your morality of your ideology or your thought process to the application of somebody else's, in which the freedom of speech does cover, but the application of a qualified person to do a circumcision, say like a rabbi, to do it to a male, he's not done it with ignorance, he's done it with practice, care, and guidance, which would provide that he is an expert in knowing what he does to facilitate a theological or religious practice that embodies their culture. It could be also applied to someone who does circumcision to females and women, which there are countries you did mention before would also be applied, and that's what we're referring. And now they're telling you that you're overblowing based on a hypothetical morality idea that you're trying to propound.
Overblowing what? I'm not sure what you're raising. It sounds like all you're saying is that they do it in other places and you're okay with that because they're qualified. What are you saying? I'm not clarifying properly.
You're overblowing a hypothetical based on a theory inside yourself of morality of what is performed.
Overblowing
a hypothetical. What everyone else.
What do you mean by overblowing a hypothetical? I'm not sure what you mean.
You proposed a hypothetical question to Yakov. You asked him a series of questions and made propounding remarks and asked him hypothetical.
It's the mock trial room!
Yakov responded to you saying, hey, I'm not a doctor. I know they've done this. I know I'm not going to make it any different from anyone else in my culture and make a standard for what's in my culture, but can't be accepted in another. So when you blow up, when you go into a hypothetical and then you frame it and say, well, my moral tells me I object to you. Who the fuck are you? Where the fuck is your morals? Why should your morals matter to us?
Well, again, Jason, I'm not saying that they necessarily should. I'm arguing for it, right? That's the point. So I don't know why you say, like, you don't care. All right, you don't have to care. I mean, we're having a conversation.
What's the name? Roland. We have a mechanism. If 2/3 of Congress, two-thirds, the supermajority of Congress agree, and 75% of the states agree, we can pass an amendment outlawing it.
But I'm not, I'm not talking about legality or amendment or anything. I don't care about that, right? I'm just talking from the philosophical sense of whether or not it's moral to impose a medically non-necessary procedure that does have life-changing aspects on a child that hasn't consented to it. Right? That's all I was asking. I wasn't saying whether or not it'll. Yes, I wasn't saying whether or not it would ever pass. I wasn't saying whether or not we'd be able to get it through Congress. So I don't necessarily care about any of that right now. I'm just saying philosophically.
Where I land on this, my final comment is where I land on this is the parents are the custodians of their child, and they make the best decisions they can on the welfare of their child. And if their religion, fine, go right ahead. I'm just saying, I made the best decision that I could for my son with the information that I had that was legal. Okay, and I performed it, with great love, affection, and the community was around us, and it was one of the best days of our lives.
I would say that circumcision in the United States isn't.
Hang on, I'm going to move it from circumcision to something else, right? So.
Well, I just wanted to, before we move into something else, I just wanted to.
It's still about parents.
Yeah, go ahead. The circumcision is not, strictly speaking, in the United States a religious practice, right? Jews do it religiously, but 80% of men in the United States are circumcised, right? So the only way that you're going to end up banning, it's not like female circumcision where nobody does that shit, right? That's not an American practice at all. That's a foreign practice.
Thank God.
And it's not analogous, because female circumcision.
It is when it comes to female religious practices. That's why.
It's not procedurally.
Well, that's the only reason it got brought up. So
the difference between the two is that female circumcision would be akin to cutting off your penis.
No, that's not true.
No, not at all. No, Adam.
The clitoris is in fact analogous to the penis.
No, Adam, if I could just add the thing, because I do have some really good info on this.
So the way that you would,
it's not true. If I could just say, because you made a gross error there, right? The clitoris, a lot of times when women have the clitoris quote unquote removed, they're removing the front aspect of it, right? The clitoris actually extends into the vagina. It's quite a long organ, or however you say it, like sensory organ. That extends into the vagina, right? So it's not genital, whatever. Yeah. It's not fully removed in most cases. It's just that the front part of it is removed, right? Which does limit sexual ability, and so sexual pleasure. In much the same way that the foreskin that's removed during a circumcision, right, protects the glands of the penis, keeps it lubricated, increases sensitivity. for, right, is referring to like medical complications that are going to cause like dysfunction, right? I'm not talking about just. I'll give you an anecdotal example for myself, right? I'm circumcised, and I'm not happy with that, and the reason being is that when I engage in sexual relations with women, my wife, it takes me a very long time to climax, and an uncomfortably long time, because I don't have as much sensitivity there, and I suspect that it is because of the fact that I'm circumcised, so the gland is always rubbing against the interior of clothing or boxers, whatever it may be, and that is a known effect of circumcision. In fact, when you look at somebody like Kellogg, who was a big proponent of Kellogg cereal, right, of circumcision, it was because of the fact that it would reduce sensitivity, and he thought it would make kids like masturbate less, which is like a ridiculous fact. It's true though. You could look it up. And so from my perspective, it is something I'm upset about. It's not like I'm medically compromised in the sense that I can't have sex, but I know that perhaps I wouldn't, have this way of functioning if it wasn't for that, And that's not being captured in the 0.2 to 0.4%.
Well, first of all, the 0.2 to 0.6% is just complications, which are minor bleeding, local infection, removal of too little or too much adhesions. Serious complications is 0.1%.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I'm talking about essential reduction, right? Not just like medical complications in terms of things requiring you to go to a hospital.
I'm sorry to hear of your personal issues.
Oh, yeah, I mean, again, I appreciate it. I mean, it's not like.
Is there a product we can develop around that you can wear while you're wearing your boxers, wherever it's rubbing, and some cloth product like circumcised saver? Yeah, dick sleeves. There has to be a marketplace here. You have, man. You have Cox 340 million people. It's 49% are men. This is a huge untapped marketplace.
They do sell cock sleeves. They do sell them. Yeah, there's a cock.
I'm not doing a good job marketing because I did not know about that.
I'm 63. James is talking about something totally different. That's his shit.
easy marks for their social justice. And inevitably there will be one of a table of like senior citizen age men who are like, stop mutilating our babies. This is their highest order social cause. And I'm someone who studied cults for over 20 years, and they very much have all the telltale signs of being in a cult.
The gays or the guys at the table?
The gays who are there promoting and the practice of circumcision.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's a thing.